Finland Arctic Challenge, but also Arctic Lapland. And the idea, this is the very first one of our season. So I thought, let's make it a little bit generic. I think there's a lot of you who have never been, or those of you who haven't experienced the winter up in the Arctic. So whether you're taking part in the upcoming event in February, or if you're generally interested in Finland, Lapland, Arctic, or any of the other things we do here, you're equally welcome, and your questions are very, very welcome. So, yeah, my name is Riitta Hänninen. I am from Finland, but I'm a Finn with a bad habit of traveling a lot, and I've spent most of my life working overseas in very cool places in the world. So I then, at some point after 15 years overseas, got a bit homesick and decided to return to Finland. And this is how it all started, basically. So I headed up to Lapland and thought that why not starting organize some cool things in my own country. So this is what I do during the winter time. And whilst we talk through the things, this is what we are going to cover roughly, but before we get started, I wanted to introduce you to a couple of our local members here on the call who will then share a little bit as well, so it's not just me getting you bored. So we have Laura and Roberto. Maybe you can both just share a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Laura, in my 30s. I'm from the northern part of Finland and been living actually on and off in Lapland the past 5 years. And what I love doing in Lapland is ski touring, snowboarding, bike packing, everything possible what you can do outside. So that's why Lapland is the best possible spot for me. And actually, this is like my third time being with Riitta in this kind of exercises. And beforehand, I've been also in Ylläs leading this kind of winter cycling and guiding trail running and different kind of things over there. So being outside is really my passion. So I'm really eager to go and enjoy the winter time in Lapland with you guys. And then
Fantastic.
Roberto.
I'm Roberto from the Swiss Alps, so I'm Swiss. I'm a guide and coach for trail running and stage races. And last year I participated at the challenge and then asked Rita if she would need some help. And I think she was happy to having me with you this year, so we joined the team and the participants this year. Because I love Finland, meanwhile, I love Lapland, and I hope I will see some more northern lights than last year, this next year.
Thank you both. And also to add to that Roberto is also married to a Finn, which makes him half Finn. So we've counted him into the team. Okay. Something I forgot to mention, that if you're okay with it, that this session will be recorded. It is recorded already. Let me know if not cool. I just wanted to capture it because there's a few of you from very different time zones to ours and who couldn't join, so that way we can share the info afterwards as well. All right, here's the rough topics for today, and we probably don't quite stick in the agenda, but anyway, maybe Laura can tell a little bit more about our life in Lapland.
Alrighty, so how many of you guys have already been in Lapland? Few of you?
No.
Not many? Okay.
I have, but only in summer and quite briefly.
Alrighty. Okay, so lovely that you get to go there in February. That's one of the best times to visit actually Lapland. And that's actually the largest wilderness area in Europe, and also the only officially stated indigenous people in the EU are living in the area, the Samish people. And so we're going to be stated in the 67th of North, so just above the Arctic Circle. So please expect some cold weather in February when we're gonna go there. It's gonna be like at least last winter there was like weeks when it was like -30 to -40 degrees. We're gonna cover a bit more about the clothing later on, but so it's gonna be quite chilly, I would say. And then a bit about the lovely pictures what Rita has put it over there. So what we love as a nation is ski touring and especially cross-country skiing. So where we see those little guys going with the skis. Actually, in every school we learn to ski when we are like 6 years old. And I have to say that I have actually gone to work as well with the cross-country skis. And then the next picture over there is reindeer herding. So that's something very common in Finland, and actually over 30% of our country is reindeer herding area. So that's really like what the locals do in the area where we are gonna go. And in the third picture, have you ever seen that kind of item? Anyone?
Yes.
You have?
Yeah, I've been on one.
What was it?
Are they the little things you scoot along on
Yeah. Exactly. Like kick
in
sled.
towns? They had them in towns in Norway.
Oh yeah. They have it as well. Yeah. Kick
Yeah,
sleds. Those are like really popular
yeah,
going to the different places, to the store or to the pub as well.
yeah, yeah.
Works very well in Finland.
Yeah.
And then in the fourth picture, what we see, there's a hunting of Arctic crows. So that's a bird, really popular hunting in the area where we're gonna go. Actually, I've been hunting this year of those as well. Didn't get any, dang. But that's something what the locals do a lot in the area. And then a bit about the 3x through winters, what stayed over there. So actually we don't have only one winter. We have 3 different winters in the area. So there is the really like polar night, which starts in the late of November. And then we have like the deep winter part from January, February, and then we have the spring winter. So the winter season like really differs depending on the month. And then we can have the next slide. Rita.
Sorry, I thought something's happening. Wait, there we go.
Yes. So then from there we get to the different seasons. So normally we think about year as 4 different seasons, but if we already have like 3 different winters, and of course we have 8 seasons in the area of Lapland and in the area of Ylläs where we're gonna be. So there's gonna be the deep winter, there's gonna be spring, winter, polar nights, and but then some of you guys had already been visiting Lapland in the midnight sun area. That's also one of the most amazing times to visit Finland when the sun doesn't set. And then in autumn time, it's called ruska. So that's about when the nature is kind of having this all the beautiful colors, red and yellow leaves everywhere. That's also one of the really most spectacular times to visit. But in my opinion, since I love snowboarding, ski touring, and winter, the February time is gonna be that's one of the most amazing times to visit Finland. That's when we have like really beautiful colors of this kind of like powderish kind of pink, and then also the orange kind of sunsets. It's oh, you're gonna love it. And
Great.
the next slide, we are gonna talk a bit.
Right, I don't know why. I don't know what's going on, but clearly my computer is a bit tired. Let me see. Sorry.
Yeah, soon the polar night actually is gonna kick in also in Lapland. I think the longest
Sorry, let me find this thing.
or the shortest day is gonna be in December 22nd. So getting there and getting more C vitamins meanwhile, and D vitamins also.
Mhm.
Let's try that. Thanks for bearing with me. How is that?
Yeah. So since we are gonna be in Lapland in February, so then we wanna talk a little bit more about the deep winter part, of course. So these are the pictures, the lights and the colors, what I was just describing to you. And luckily, in February the sun already rises again. It's really colorful over there, but still quite cold. So it's gonna be like from -10 to -30. In the first year when we had this group organized with Riitta, I think it was in the first morning, it was like -35 or something.
Yeah, which is why we started a bit later.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully it's gonna be more around like -20, which is like nicer to go out for doing stuff. And also as a snowboarder, this is the time what I love because there's a lot of powder snow, lots of snow everywhere, and the trees are covered with snow. So it's gonna be also really beautiful in that sense. And maybe you guys have been checking from the news that this time of this year there has been a lot of um, um, because it's
Northern Lights.
yeah, Northern Lights.
Ah,
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's been like really spectacular Northern Lights. So I hope you guys will also see those when you're visiting here. And what else?
Sorry,
Yeah.
I could actually add to that. So this year has been, I think you've seen, many of you may have seen them in, well, other parts of the world as well, at least in the
Yeah.
UK. So it's been what we call a solar maximum, which happens every, I believe it was 11 years, where the sort of solar activity is higher, which then causes the activity. And the time for it was estimated to be from 2024, so the past January all the way to October. But what we actually experienced in Lapland was that the beginning of the winter wasn't that amazing with Northern Lights. They were just like what we'd say normal. We see them every few nights or so. But it was what I think where the difference came was that you guys were actually able to watch them in the UK and like central part of Europe as well. So that was quite amazing. But now then what's happened at the end of this year has been they've been spectacular up in Lapland. So we hope that that keeps, continues all the way to next year as well.
Exactly. All right. And then after the polar night and deep winter part, there comes the spring and spring winter. And that's from the March to early May or late May, depends of the year and how much snow there has come. And that's the time when we have still a lot of snow, but then we also have the sunshine. So then we can actually do all the exercises like till the late of the day. And that's the time of the year when the snow it's not powerish anymore, it starts to pack. And then we can actually do more of these kind of like ski hiking activities with sledges like everywhere in the wilderness areas. And also you can do like even cross-country skiing almost anywhere in the time when the snow starts to pack, like it really like has kind of like can take your heaviness in the on the top of the snow. And what else? That's when you
Sorry,
also need to start to add the sunscreen.
the days do actually
I'll
get
try to
very long.
remember. I never do remember it. I always burn my face in March.
Yeah, our days get really, really long. At the end of April, we already have something like 14, 15 hours of daylight. So we're way past the sort of typical summer light in the sort of equator part of the world.
And it's really amazing, like when it's combined with the snow everywhere. It's brilliant. Sunglasses is something what you also need.
Good. Thank you, Laura. Okay, so that's just to give you an image of how different our different times of the year are. And what we do in Arctic Escapades is trying to get a little bit different approach to things. So you know that I'm sure you know that Lapland is a very visited place, and there's quite a lot of tourists, increasing amounts. But what we want to do is do things quite authentically and quite locally, and show the sort of more real style to people who come and visit. So we organize all kinds of like winter retreats and events, but then also for private groups who want to come and experience Lapland, team building, different kind of outdoor adventures. But the elements are always to do with outdoors and to do with experiencing also the other side of the things. So that's how we approach it. So it can also stay in luxury cabins and igloos as well. But in this particular event, I quite like to take people to the back to the basics, basically. So actually, before we move on to the event, do you have any general questions about Lapland at this point? Okay, you can also ask afterwards. And maybe Laura, if you can see if there's anybody who might have a chat message, just let us know. Okay, I'm not going to show this video because it's right on the website, and I'm sure if you haven't watched it yet, you can, but there's quite a lot of photos going through this video where you can kind of see what the event looks like. But here are the event details. So basically just a brief recap on the dates. So the stages, we have 5 stages running from 10th or 14th of February. But the arrival date when you travel and when we meet you to do the briefing and the equipment check is on the 9th of February. And I put there approximately 4 p.m. Some of you may have booked your flights already. I'm sure many actually have. And I will be sending a form quite soon to you asking your flight details, your sizes, your shoe sizes, your dietary requirements. And from there, because we are a fairly small group, we can get an idea of any shuttles needed and the meeting times as well. But roughly in the afternoon will be good. And then to travel, you're free to travel on the 15th. So basically the last stage will be on the 14th of February. And then we'll have dinner, celebrations in the evening, night at the hotel, and then heading back. Or if you want to continue your time in Lapland, we're super happy to give you tips. There's so many other amazing things to do here as well. And then equally, if your family wants to join, maybe not the event, but if they're joining otherwise, happy to give them tips for their holidays as well. All of you who come from Europe, whether you're from the UK, Switzerland, Lithuania, France, there are direct flights to Kittilä. So look up for those. And if you're coming from Japan, from Singapore, from Hong Kong, you should have direct flights to Helsinki. And then from Helsinki, which is our capital in Finland, it's just a domestic flight, about 1.5 hours to get to the Kittilä. So that's fairly easy, I would say. And we have so the event hotels and the accommodation. So basically, when we're at the basics, we will be 4 nights at lumberjack cabins, which are very traditional. We'll share a little bit more about them shortly. But the arrival night and the departure night will be at a hotel, just to sort of get you settled in before we take you to the rough stuff. There's a slight change to what it said previously on the website, which I wanted to update you on. So the arrival hotel will be on Yllä's side. There's a couple of reasons for that to do with logistics. But I will be also asking at the end of this how many of you have already booked or if you've booked any extra accommodation arriving earlier, in which case we can organize a shuttle for you. So there's no hassle then for you because of this. The final night in Levi will be in the same accommodation, so at the Levi Break Hotel. This is all supported. I've had my fair share of unsupported desert races, so I don't want to currently organize them. I want to support you this time. So a lot of all the meals are included, and that's part of the Lapland experience, a big part of it as well. So the locals will put their best things on the table for you. Of course, you're welcome to bring your trail snacks and electrolytes that you're used to using anyway when you go out there and do your sport. But other than that, you're supported with food, the event and the safety and the operational support. Who can take part? So a lot of you already are taking part, but if you have friends or people who are still sort of on the fence, wondering if they can, my general advice is that if you have 2 legs and 2 arms, you can take part, and even if you don't, you can still probably take part. So what is required is the adventurous spirit and the stamina, and a good basic fitness. But where we are on the even line is that I think very many of you have not experienced these sports before, and that's the beauty of it. We like to show people what we do up here, and so that you can learn new things, take back home new skills, new friends, new experiences. Also, you don't need to have experienced Arctic weather temperatures before. That is part of the learning as well. And we'll brief you in the preparation on what to bring and what we will provide so that you'll stay warm and happy throughout the whole week. What is included? So also on the website, you see a long list of things that are included. It's pretty much everything in Lapland. The only thing you need to budget for is your flights, and then just to have a travel insurance that covers also your any hospitalization or medical evacuation costs. But other than that, and of course, your sports clothing during the days, you need to bring yourself. But everything else is covered by us. So we want to make this easy for you. And then just a final bit about charity. It's not a must, but we always recommend that when you do something where that's a little bit hard and you exceed yourself, it's a really good idea to involve a charity that you raise funds for. So as an event, we support RUN, which is a refugee supporting organization in Asia. But you're obviously welcome to choose your own cause if you want. Have you got any questions about the details of the event at this point?
Rita, can I just check what was the hotel that we need to book? So we're getting there a night before the start?
Okay, yeah, and that's absolutely fine. It's actually a good idea to come a bit earlier. So the hotel before is called Ylläs Saga, which is here.
Okay.
And that's basically about 40-minute drive from the airport to the other direction. But for you guys, we'll provide a shuttle in that case. So I'll just get your details. And anybody else who's arriving the night before. I think Roberto is coming 2 nights before as well.
Yeah.
I don't know where we get into, actually. We're getting an overnight train from Helsinki to somewhere.
Okay, nice. I think you're going to Kolari, which is
Yes.
up
Yes, that's
here.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, see the train picture?
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yes, yeah, right. I get it.
Yeah. Actually,
Um,
thanks for pointing that out. It's a really cool way to see a bit more of Finland by taking the train.
yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So I will,
We'll arrive on Friday evening. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah. I'll give you tips on the how to get from the station, but basically all the airports and even the train station is connected by a shuttle bus. And then we plan to organize at least that one shuttle bus for anybody who might need it because they have booked previous accommodation in Levi.
Yeah, I'm one of those too. I'm coming in on the Saturday morning and got booked accommodation in Levi.
Yeah, okay, yeah, and no problem
Cool.
at all.
Yep.
Great. Okay, here's our team, just brief introductions. So Roberto and Laura, you've already met here on the call. The two guys, so Timo is our course setter, course team member, sitting on a snowmobile there last winter. And that's how you will largely see him this time as well. So he's marking the course there for safety as well. and sort of all around the place. And then Markus on the sort of right side there with the food. He is a logistics guy, making sure your kit will go from cabin to cabin. He happens to own the very first lumberjack cabin, own and operate the first lumberjack cabin where we will be going. So he'll make sure the food is up to the notch as well. Once you arrive, everything is warm, and the sauna must be ready for you guys. We have Tiago coming from Brazil. He's a friend from many desert races, and he is an exceptionally talented photographer. So he will be covering the event. Your entry fee includes a number of photos from the event, but if you'd like to get like a special collection that has more of you, you can then get that from Tiago. But we will send more information on that as well. And actually on this call we have Martin from Hong Kong as well, who's the Runnerec representative. Are you there still, Martin?
Yes. Yes, thank you very much, Rita, for having me. Obviously, I've done one of the four deserts races, and lots of friends that have done many of the four deserts races, and very fond of Rita, and very much want to support and get the visibility out for this event in Asia, from Hong Kong and Singapore, and see if we can get some more participation to come from this part of the world, because I know the kind of caliber and the kind of expertise that Rita has for organizing these kind of events, and I know it'll be an absolute ball once again. So very much here and ready to support. Thank you, Rita, for having me.
So excellent that you came, and we'll make sure people come to your boot camps to train a bit before the event. And maybe see you in Lapland then. Good. Okay. Here's the course. What we're doing this year round is turning the course around just for the heck of it. So basically, we will start from the village of Akaslombolo, which you see here on the bottom left. So all of this course is basically in the sort of some of the most beautiful wilderness areas in Lapland, and it's basically within the sort of Pallas National Park, which happens to be the oldest and the largest national park in Finland. And this particular area is called the Seven Fells area. So in Finland, we don't have mountains, we have these bumps. So we call them fells. So they're high, rounded shape, hills basically, that are very typical for Lapland, but very beautiful. And in this area, we have a lot of them. So it's just sort of a feature of the Seven Fells, and actually for the whole of Lapland. And so some of the fells you will see and go either through or around Kukas, Akaskero, Lainio, and Aakenus fells. The highest fell here in the area is about 800 meters high, and a fell anything over 500 meters would basically count. The distance, so this is where I get a lot of questions. It's very hard for you to know if it's hard or not, or what is 100 kilometers, because really we're in powder snow. So 100 kilometers for many of you, I know, may feel a bit short, especially when there's 5 stages, but actually it's not if you start sinking to your knees or to your waist. So it's all very related to the terrain. But roughly speaking, it's 100 kilometers, and starting first with the winter bike section from the village of Akaslombolo, then backcountry, or like it says in this map, wilderness skiing on the second day. And then here is where we make a little update to the map. So on the third day, we're planning to do snowshoeing up on top of the Akaskero Fell. And that's where if we have a clear day, you get really amazing views across the whole of Western Lapland. The fourth day is the half marathon, as we call it, but actually it's looking to be about 25 kilometers. involving snow trails and a remote Argonus road to our last accommodation, which is the Argonus cabin. And then from there, for the final day, we have the husky mushing stage left. And actually, on that very last morning, if we have some kilometers to cover left for a reason or another, we may do that in the morning before we head out for the huskies. And once the huskies are done, then we head to Levi to conclude the event. We'll give you the full details before the event. Everything will be marked. And if there's snow conditions or weather that we can't mark something, which may be the case actually on the snowshoeing stage, that may be guided. But at least most of the event will be marked so that you can basically make progress individually. My last point there is about lighter option available. We make sure you get tired and be there for, don't worry, expect to be there for about 6 to 7 hours a day, including breaks. But we're also a fairly small group of about 20 people or so. So this is not a race. We want you to be able to experience this. So that's why we call it a challenge. And we can adjust in some days. There may be a slightly shorter option available as well. But mainly going for the full experience. Roberta, would you like to introduce these different stage sports?
Yes. So the backcountry skiing, it was new to me because I'm used to do some alpine skiing and cross-country skiing, and backcountry skiing is a sort of mix. As long as it's flat, you have no problem. But well, uphill it's okay, but downhill it's a little bit tricky. And with a little bit funny scenes at a small bridge, people getting up and then down on that bridge last year. But it's funny, and as Rita said, outside of the slope of the track, it's very deep snow and very soft snow. So if you fall, is no problem. The only problem is to have the appropriate technique to come back to the slope. But Rita gave us a very good introduction for how to stay up and come back to the track. Fat biting, it's almost, if you can bike, if you can mountain bike, it's okay. The bikes are very good with fat wheels, so with a very good grip. And I'm excited to see how the course will be this year, because if I understood Rita, it's the opposite direction as last year. So probably a little bit more uphill at the beginning. Half marathon, last year it was very, very cold. So my bird was full icy. There you can go your tempo, so you can go, you can just walk, you can run. Last year we had even people, I think, who at halfway they stopped and then they were carried by car to the finish line. So it's yes, you can interpret as you want this every stage actually. Snowshoeing, it's I mean, it's like walking, just you have to learn maybe 10-15 minutes to practice it. But last year we had a group who did even an additional round in the evening with headlamps. It's very funny, and here again I think we will split probably in a couple of groups depending on the speed of the groups. And the husky dogs, well, there you can just brake. So go on the brake and try to stop them, because you are on a track as well. So we are all together. We have a guide in front of us, so we don't get loose, and the dogs they know the track, so there's no problem there. Just maybe practice to stop on the brakes for or pushing on the brakes with your feet for stopping them or slowing them down. It's a very beautiful region. We go a little bit up on the hills, and you see down all these forests or this vastness. It's very, very nice. And we took a lot of pictures, and during all the week, actually, additionally to Tiago, who is a very, very professional photographer, we took ourselves a lot of pictures because, yes, it's unique. Lapland is unique, and you have to profit from it.
Thank you, Roberto. Yeah, no, this was great to come from somebody who you're definitely not new to the sport, but you were new to the region last year, so it was nice to hear your comments. Somebody quite Pius, I think, on the lines just asked a very good question, that if you really have never skied before or been in the snow before, is it really that you can take part? So absolutely you can, because for instance, the backcountry skiing there, I will share close-up photos with you and give more information. But we put them just in the snowshoes that we provide, so it's not technical like alpine skiing would be. This is a style where basically they are like fat skis that enable you to float in a powdery snow and not sink. Normal shoes will be in, and they are attached with the bindings, a little bit like snowshoes as well. And you have poles in your hands, so it's basically like walking and gliding a little bit on the snow. So no, not steep, not technical in that sense. And if you do fall, it's always soft everywhere around you. So that just makes it fun. So the previous skills that are good for you to have is being able to hike. Hiking is a really good training. And then being able to a bicycle. And like Roberto said, mountain biking would be good in a sense that just for you to so that you remember how to use the gears when you have 27 or so gears, because these fat bikes are essentially the same thing. But again, you can also walk the bike on the trail. It's not the end of the world, but obviously you'll enjoy it more if you've spent your fair of time on a mountain bike before the event. There's plenty of time to still get used to these things. But definitely beginner friendly sports. Here's some extras if you decide to stay longer, or if you have some family joining. And as said, we can give you tips. These are just some of the things that you will find in the areas of both Ylläs and Levi that you can do. But if you can spare a couple of days extra in the area, it's very much recommended. Oh, and I miss Santa Claus. He's available as well. Okay, this is something that's practical and might be interesting for you. So the cabins on the right side are just for those who are generally interested in coming to Lapland, are some of the modern luxury accommodation that we have available. So luxury cabins, igloos. But in this event, we'll be sticking to the left side for most part, and then plus the hotel. So basically the lumberjack cabins. And the reason why we brought these into this event is that they are so unique. They aren't in a normal tourist use at all. And we're very privileged to be able to stay in them and use them. These date back for more than 100 years, when the Finnish lumberjack used to cut the wood, cut the logs in Lapland, and they drifted them down the rivers to south of Finland. And as the work moved, what they did, they broke down the cabins, basically disassembled, put the logs on horses, pulled them to the next place, and then assembled them again, and then continued or started the work in the new place. So they really are quite impressive. They are a big piece of our history. And when you come and stay in them, you'll see a lot of very cool details. from kitchen and the food maintenance to the saunas. So the saunas are warm every evening for you, and that is possibly the most traditional cultural Finnish thing you can experience. And especially these saunas, they are like the real saunas. Don't expect showers, expect bucket wash. Some of the places you can try the ice dip as well, which is very, very cool and good for you. But it's not a must. But I think that most of you will dip in anyway, right? So yeah, this is it. Sleeping in bunk beds, bring your earplugs. There's usually a few rooms in a cabin, but there's no private space when we are there. So your privacy will be at the arrival hotel and at the departure. But during this week, we get to know each other very well. And then the bathrooms, if you look down to the bottom, those two little red houses, so they are like your little wooden portaloos, basically, out not too far away from the cabin, but they are outside. So we try to avoid yellow snow and use these during the event. All right, here's an example day, just to give you an idea. So quite early wake ups because we want to make most of the daylight. So in February, it's roughly about 9 o'clock in the morning till 4 p.m., but it's not even sharp daylight, but it's a time that we can see. So therefore, getting up quite early, whether it's 6:30 or 7 o'clock. We will have lunch on the route. It may be a takeaway sandwich. Some places it may be a freeze-dried meal by fire. Usually we'll ask you to, and always actually ask you to fill in your thermoses full. Generally, we try to provide more hot water on the way, but it's not always guaranteed, which is why on your equipment list there's the capacity to bring, I think it was 0.75 liters. But in any case, if you can bring two thermoses that have hot water capacity, that's the best combination, because if you just bring a water bottle, it's going to freeze. So that's how we roll this time of the year. And then Laura mentioned the very, very cold. So our sort of safety limit for cold is generally about -25 degrees. And after that, we start checking things more. We may decide not to have that stage. We may start later, or we may make it shorter. So that's the absolute max safety limit. But it's always case by case. So we may look at things even if it's a bit warmer. And obviously, if there's a storm or blizzard or anything like that. So safety is always our number one priority. This is going to be part of the next briefing. But I'll just say very briefly that if you are fearing how cold is that cold going to be, I just have a look at Jason, who was last year's participant there. So he's happy as anything. And the thing, when you see somebody who has a frosty beard or frosty hair, it means that they're very warm from inside, and that's why they get frosty from outside. And that is the sort of way of looking healthy and happy in the cold. And this is what we're going to teach you in the next sort of info session and in our updates, how to be prepared in this way, how to take the breaks, what to have in your backpack so that you will always feel warm. But that's pretty much I can guarantee you is that you will be feeling warm. So I think the cold is going to be one of the biggest learning experiences. And first day is something that when you sort of experience the first day, then you know how it's going to work for the rest of the week. So don't worry about it too much. We're there with you and keep you sort of safe and happy. These are some of the equipments that I sent you these lists. And again, we can talk about this more detail in the upcoming sessions. But just so you know that there's a lot of information available for you. And as mentioned about your training, so everything is designed so that you can train in your own environment, hiking, doing consecutive days, carrying a backpack, doing some cycling, ideally on a trail, on a mountain bike. That is like the best training you can do. But anything you normally do, just make use of it. And then you're good for Lapland. Our first day will be the biggest sort of learning day, basically. Gym is good, cross training is good. So just to have your normal healthy life will be great. Just to say also, so we provide you all-in-one winter suits. You don't normally use those when you're out there on the trail because they make you too hot. So your layered clothing per the equipment list is enough. And then the winter suit is there just sort of for the evenings and for additional support, but usually not to wear when we're out on the course. We'll give you also Arctic snow boots. The reason for this is just because I don't generally see that people have warm enough shoes. So it's just a lot easier when you have them. If you think you have something that's warm enough, you can bring them. And for the half marathon stage, if you do bring your own trail shoes, that's fine. I recommend that they are larger, like a couple of sizes larger, so you can put some wool socks in, and ideally Gore-Tex. But the snow is dry usually, so it's Gore-Tex is not a must. Okay, I've kept that quite brief so that we have time for questions. If you use social media, I'm just going to say that if you follow Arctic Escapades, then during the event we'll be doing updates updates on the event so that your family and friends can see as well, and then we'll tag you so they'll be seeing you from the photos too. But over to any questions you may have.
Will you be able to share the slide deck that you've just that we just looked at?
Yeah, for sure, and the recording as well, if you like.
Thank you. When is the next one on clothing and kit?
I have not put a date in the calendar yet. Have you got any wishes?
No, really, just enough time to buy new stuff, get it ordered.
Yeah, to be fair. I think a lot of the stuff that's so I think most of you have already received the list of clothing and gear. I think Tabitha quite rightly asked for the links, so we can add some links to them so you can see examples too. But just to say that I think a lot of that clothing you already have in your cupboards, because what we do in Finland is we wear layers. You're constantly getting hot or colder, and that way you can keep adding more or less. So, as an example, when it says a down jacket or a parka on the list for the warm jacket, you can also bring two jackets that are like kind of mid-weight. Say mid-weight down jackets would be fine, and just making sure they are sort of sizable enough so that there's air in between. Because if you wear anything that's too tight in the cold weather, that's how you get cold.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And what size day pack? I think I saw it. Was it 30-liter day pack? Yeah. Okay.
That's generally good. Yeah, because it's you need to be able to fit the big jacket inside the backpack, which you would then take out when you have a break. That's like the first thing you do is put a big jacket on, and more warm clothing. And then as you move again, you can start stripping them off and putting them in your backpack. So.
Okay.
Any other questions? I'm sure I wasn't that clear.
Rita, were there any surprises with the weather for last year's challenge, or was it quite did everything go quite as expected?
So last year we didn't need to really change things around. There was a day when it was a bit warmer, I think about -10 degrees. The couple of first days were around -20. And February is typically the time when it starts shifting towards the season, so you could start seeing some warmer time as well. But usually it's good to expect the sort of -20.
Yep.
And the reason why we do this when it's cold, because the cold is like the most beautiful time.
Hi, Rita. This is Winnie here.
Hi, Winnie.
Thank you very much. This was super informative and super helpful. Excitement is building here. I have one question, which may be out of place. What's the internet connectivity like during the day?
So it's a good question. So actually, you'd be surprised, but Finland's pretty good with the internet. In the area where we are, it can be patchy at places. So, like we say for safety reasons, is that if you're not feeling comfortable with something, don't wait until you feel like you have to call, because at that point, phone might not work. But if you're thinking about your social media updates or calling for friends or something that can wait, there generally will be some connection. Some of the cabins it's definitely not great. But when you arrive in Levi or when you arrive in Ylläs, when you departure from Levi, there it's really good. So yeah, more or less okay.
Great, thank you.
Rita, maybe the question if they can charge their phones or not.
Yeah, that's a good one, actually. So I'm pretty sure the gear list has power bank. So bring your power bank. Don't expect to get any charging in the cabins. It's mainly because a lot of these cabins work with generators. And as for event operations, we need to reserve some of them to make sure that we can organize the event. So if you want to be 100% sure to use your phones, then bring your own power banks. And the other point that brings to mind is that cold weather kills batteries. So we will give you more tips, but you need to wrap up your phones very, very well in order to save and reserve the power in them. I also wanted to mention that we will have briefings. So I'll remind you that every morning we have a briefing about that day, what's good to wear, any changes, any updates, weather, all that, and always the previous evening as well. So we're always there with you, so you don't need to feel like you're on your own. Basically, we'll keep you very well informed. And as said, the very first day is the day when you sort of experience it. And like any stage event, when you do something for many days, you get into the rhythm of it. So don't be too excited for the whole week. Just think of the one first day, and then you get used to it. Okay, well, we'll schedule the next one for, let's say, roughly next month, about training and gear, more about the clothing, and then in the meanwhile, we can keep in touch with emails. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I was also planning on starting a WhatsApp group a little bit closer, maybe January time, so that then you get to know each other better and can start sort of talking about the practicalities. But if you feel like you want to come to Lapland earlier, stay later, and you would like to meet other people, I'm happy to put you in touch or set up that group even earlier.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Great.
Sounds great. Yeah.
Thank you so much. You will hear from me, but any questions, don't hesitate to get in touch.
That's great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rita.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it. Sounds like fun.
Thank you. Looking forward to it as well.
Bye.
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 Solid
See
team.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniela.
Thank